I'm starting that now. This is Dr. Remland, and also joining us tonight we have Miss Laura and Mrs. Boba.
Hello,
And hey,
welcome.
thank you. And Miss Laura and Miss Boba are our gate teachers here at Fern. And also we have Dr. Smart. Dr. Smart's joining us as well. So thank you, Dr. Smart, for joining us. Hey, you guys. Again, I'm going to let you know that I'm recording this so that if somebody couldn't quite make it, we can post this up to our website and they can see our information session. And now I am going to share my screen. I just asked that if you've got questions, you can possibly hold them up to the end, and then we could answer all the questions kind of together. And then, yeah. So I'm going to share my screen, and here we go. All right, everybody. Torrance Unified Gifted and Talented Education Program. This is our information session. And we want to provide everybody, families, with the context about the GATE program here in Torrance Unified and all details about regarding the identification process. Okay. That's the screening process that takes place across this fall in third, fourth, and fifth grades.
Excuse me, Dr. Remen, I'm so sorry to interrupt. I don't see it being shared. Does anyone else see it being shared?
Oh my goodness. I
Okay,
have it.
there you go.
I have it. Thank you. I have it clicked on, but I did not actually click the share button. So I thank you. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for letting me know. And while I did that, all my screens went different places. So, hey, we're back. So this is a program. This is about the identification process for GATE for our families for this fall. And so um, we have a few things we're going to be talking about, and we're going to be providing some general information regarding the gifted and talented education here in Torrance Unified, how we can support students and myths and characteristics of our gifted learners, and also the identification process, as well as any additional resources that we have here in Torrance Unified for our gifted learners. Okay. Um, In Torrance Unified, we do recognize the needs of students with exceptional abilities. The purpose of our GATE program is to identify kids with abilities well beyond their grade or age expectations. And we want to support their instructional program by establishing how students can receive differentiated learning experiences within the classroom and also opportunities for enrichment inside the classroom and also outside the classroom. And also for students with these exceptional abilities and skills, some social emotional support, because these days, especially after COVID, social emotional support for our kids and anybody is plays a key role in being able to access a lot of our academics for our kids. So we want to provide that as well. What do we do here in Torrance Unified? We have differentiated instruction. Okay. Differentiated instruction means that we try to provide for kids the necessary instruction that they need to be successful. That means that with a lot of kids, you may hear something about called depth to their knowledge, depth to their skills, depth to what we teach them. As well, we add complexity to what we teach these GATE students. We make things just a little more complex and make them a little richer. At times, we also accelerate them because acceleration keeps them moving in the process, keeps them engaged in the process of learning. And that is huge. And then we add novelty because sometimes our kids go, boy, I'm bored. That novelty keeps things hopping in the classroom, and it should keep things hopping at home for you guys too, because we want our kids to be engaged in what we're doing. Okay. Oftentimes, our gate kids are clustered. Sometimes they're not, but I know that in our practices have kind of changed over the years. But we do the after school gate sessions where we all those gate kiddos get together with Miss Lara and Miss Boba, and they have amazingly fun things that they do together. Enrichment sessions occur 5 or more times a year, and those are enrichment sessions that happen after school usually. That's when they got all kinds of really crazy cool projects that the kids work on. And at times, it's also focusing on their social emotional needs of our gifted learners by looking at also their critical thinking skills, helping them to build connections between the different things that we learn and that we talk about. And then also, we do have a family event about February, March. We have a district gate event where all the gate kids from across um, the district get together. It's usually on a Saturday, and there's all kinds of different kind of extension supports that happen then. Myths about gifted learners. There's a lot of myths about gifted learners out there, and we need to kind of walk through it because not everybody's a gifted learner, but not all of these um, attributes line up with gifted students. Some people say that gifted learners are all the same. They're all high achievers who excel in school or in all areas. And that's not necessarily the truth. We have had students who have special needs, but at the same time, they do qualify as exceptional learners for GATE because they have exceptional skills in certain areas. But they also have some gaps in certain areas. So they're not always high achievers. And then social emotional development is always at the same level as their intellectual development. It isn't always at the same level. Sometimes we have some kiddos who can do some really difficult tasks, but at the same time, they are working through just learning how to work with others. They're learning how to work with their teacher. They're learning how to work in a cooperative group. That, for a lot of our gifted learners, is actually a challenge. So oftentimes, social emotional development is not at the same level. Another myth is they don't need help. If they're really gifted, they can manage on their own. Oh, our kiddos we're talking about here are third, fourth, and fifth grades. And so a lot of these kids, like I just said, are kids who are just learning how to work, are figuring things out, who are just learning how to work with others, who are just doing cooperative groups, who are just developing skills um, in managing their social situations. And so oftentimes it's hard for them to do that as well as work through a project. Um, Another myth is they need to serve as examples to others. Oftentimes, I've had some gifted learners who do not ever want me to call them Dr. Rumlin. Do not call me. I do not want anyone to look at what I'm doing. I just want to do it, and I want to make it easy on me. That's often not what we see. Myths about gifted learners are easy to raise. Not so much. Oftentimes, those are the kids who are really good at arguing with you about going to bed, really good at arguing about with you about what we're going to have for dinner. Those are the kids who really do challenge you day in, day out. And oftentimes, like I said, our gifted learners do not have special learning needs. And you know what? We've had some amazing gifted learners here at Fern, but they also have special learning needs. So, every kiddo is different, every kiddo is special, and we want to accelerate the kids that need that acceleration to be engaged in their work, but we also want to support them social emotionally and also academically. So, um, loving our kids as they should be loved, but then pushing them as they need to be pushed is very important here. So, several aspects from our GATE program. I think I am going to be passing this next slide over to Miss Lara or Miss Boba. All right, Miss Lara, you are up.
There. Thank you. All right. So moving away from the myths, these are some of the characteristics of gifted learners. So gifted learners They have advanced comprehension and a faster pace of learning. So they do not need as much time or practice to understand a new concept. They have a need for complex and intensity. The gifted students, they often enjoy making connections between content areas, observation across time or perspectives. They also have a desire for depth and are interested in analyzing the patterns of a topic, exploring big ideas of a concept, or considering the ethics and impact of an idea. Some other characteristics that you see on the slide include originality of expression, the ability to generalize and work comfortably with abstract ideas, and synthesize diverse relationships. And gifted students are often interested in seeing both the unique relationships and are able to understand both the concrete and the abstract. And then the next one, Dr. Emily. Thank you. All right. So now we're going to go over the identification process. So this is the preview for the GATE identification process for the school year. We're looking forward to providing in-person and on-site screening this fall. Now let's start with the third grade. For third grade, no form or application for participation will be needed for third grade GATE screening. We will be universally screening all third grade students unless a family submits a withdrawal. So for third grade, everyone tests unless you submit that you do not want your child to test. For fourth and fifth grade, GATE screening requires parents to submit a permission form by October 3rd. So that's for both of them. If you're a parent of a third grader and you don't want them testing, by October 3rd, you need to withdraw them. For fourth and fifth, you need to submit that you want them to take the test by October 3rd. Also, still for fourth and fifth, we'll be offering the GATE screening to eligible students in the fourth and fifth grade. Students who are new to TUSD or have only screened once before are eligible to participate in the GATE screening in fourth and fifth. All GATE screening related forms were shared notification emailed to eligible families. So if your child's already taken it twice, they cannot take it again. So if your child took it in third and fourth, they won't be eligible for fifth. However, if they took it in third, didn't take it in fourth, they can take it in fifth. All right, next slide, Dr. Emlyn. So for the GATE identification process, TUSD uses the NNAT 3 for the GATE identification. So the NNAT 3 is administered on a Chromebook and at all school sites during school hours. This tool tests analytical and problem-solving skills, okay, rather than content knowledge. So as you see on the screen, your child would have to figure out what goes in the pattern. It's not content, it's all about how they're solving pictures and seeing patterns. Students are not expected or encouraged to prepare for the screening other than simply just getting a good night's rest, not up till 3 a.m. playing video games, just, eating breakfast, not up all night, and trying their very best. That's it. That's all you can do to prepare them. And then the next slide, Dr. Allen. All right, and then some screening schedule and forms. Specific dates for each grade level and school site are posted on the TUSD GATE website. Remember, the deadline for GATE screening related forms is October 3rd. So again, if you have a student in third grade and do not want them to test, please fill out the withdrawal form by October 3rd. If you have a student who's in fourth and fifth grade and they're eligible to take the test, please fill out the opt-in form by October 3rd. So again, no action is needed if you would like your third grade student to participate in the universal GATE screening. Only those who choose to opt out and withdraw their third grade student from the screening will need to submit. However, students who are eligible for fourth and fifth grade screening will need to opt in and submit a permission form. These forms were included as links within the GATE screening notification that was emailed out to eligible students. Again, the deadline for submission is October 3rd.
That's this Friday.
Yes, this Friday. This Friday. Thank you. So this is results and notification. So results, with regard to the screening results and notifications will be mailed home after all the district screening has been completed and processed. So results usually don't go out to about February February of next year, because we have to wait for everyone in the districts, and there's a lot of time, there's some makeups that have to be done as well. Once a student has been identified in GATE and TUSD, there's no need for further screening. So once they've been identified, they don't do the test again. Okay, there's also, besides the NNAT 3, there's the intellectual category. That's based on the state test scores. That's 95 percentile or above qualifies for GATE identification in TUSD. Then you have the NNAT. Then you have the high achieving category. So it's based on both the results of the NNAT 3 and your CAS score, which are the state test scores, from 2025 to 2026 school year. And then next slide, Dr. Ellen.
Okay, so this graphic here shows that the options and potential outcomes with the identification process. With regard to the identification process, 3rd through 5th graders will have up to 2 opportunities to participate in the grade screening. And if you look at the flow chart, they can qualify with a score of 95% or above, 95% percentile rather, or above. And that automatically qualifies them for the intellectual category. If they don't get that 95% or above, then there's a second look that same year in 3rd grade at their CASP and their NNAT 3 scores. And there's some kind of algorithm. We do some magic and we see if those kids can get identified as high achieving. Again, in 4th and 5th, if they are not identified, and if you notice that the verbiage that we use is identification, and we don't call it a test, we call it a screening, because we don't want to put pressure on these kids to make them feel like it's pass fail. It's literally identifying the giftedness by screening them for it. So they have another opportunity in 4th and 5th, same exact thing. If they don't get identified in the 95th percentile in the high achievement category, the intellectual category, then in May of that year, after CASP results are in, we take another look at their CASP and their NNAT 3 to see if they would qualify. So even though they take the screening twice, there's really 4 opportunities total to get identified. Next slide, please. Okay. So there's some considerations when you're discussing GATE screening and results with your child. So like I said, the verbiage that we use is very deliberate. Because we never want a child to feel that they're not identified because they're not smart enough. There's a misconception that GATE students are only high-performing type A learners. GATE identification can be very useful in understanding more about the whole learner so that we can make academic and social and emotional supports for each kid and meet their needs where they are with their social and academic needs. Some things that you can share with your child would be to consider that this is not the end game for them. It's not a one and done indicator. It's just one way to determine whether or not they fit this category and that we can support them on a different level. There's other ways that we can support their success. And as Dr. Remlin mentioned, we do all sorts of stuff within the classroom with how we differentiate our instruction to make sure all the needs of every child is met, including the kids that don't get identified as gifted. Your child might be high performing, gifted and talented in ways that don't show up on the NNAT 3. And it's very important that you express this to them. Next slide, please. If you're new to TUSD and your student was identified as gifted or GATE in a previous school, please submit the request to us. You can either email gaterecords@tusd.org, and that's on the screen. You can email myself or Miss Lara directly, and we'd be happy to put you in contact with the records office to get the form that we need to submit to your child's previous school so you can be considered. And there's a review process. The different districts use different types of screening, so we have to make sure that our screening is compatible with previous screenings that were done. So we take all the guesswork away from you by having you complete the form, and then we have the record sent directly to us. Next slide, please. Again, my name is Mrs. Boba, and Miss Lara and I will be conducting 5 to 7 sessions. They average to about once per month-ish. And this is an enrichment. It's after school. As Dr. Remlin mentioned earlier, we do so much fun stuff. And we also incorporate in every single enrichment social and emotional learning to make sure that we are meeting the needs of our gifted learners, because those needs are so unique to the gifted community. Here are some additional resources that you can link to help with information about what giftedness looks like for you, and some tools to help support you as a parent to a gifted learner. I believe we're going to share this presentation, right, Dr. Remlin?
Betcha.
Okay, so those links in this presentation are live. My favorite one of all of these links is the SENG, the social emotional needs of the gifted one. Dr. Remlin alluded to earlier, Ms. Lara alluded to earlier, the emotional needs, social and emotional needs of these students, of this student demographic, are very unique, and they can be very challenging. And as Dr. Remlin said, gifted kids are not easy to raise. No kid is easy to raise, but gifted kids are not easy to raise. I highly, highly recommend that you check out these links for more information, just to give you an idea of some of the challenges and the joys of having a child be identified as gifted, and just what to expect.
Awesome. You know what, together with Miss Lara, Miss Boba, and Dr. Smart, I just want to say thank you everybody for coming tonight. I hope we've answered some of your questions. Before I am going to stop our recording here, and I'm going to stop our sharing, and then going to allow us to answer any questions that you may have. But thank you all for coming tonight. Any questions while we've got our great people with us here? What is the date for the NNAT testing? Is the qualification based in the 95th percentile? Nationally, statewide, TUSD, or at Fern? Well, the date for our NNAT testing, Ms. Boba, Ms. Lara, do you have that on you right now?
I know that 4th grade is on November 12th. That's a Wednesday.
Yes.
Correct?
And then 3rd grade, for all 3rd grade, is Wednesday, November 5th. The makeup is Thursday, December 4th.
Great.
The qualification is based on national percentile. It is a national percentile. How many students are currently in the GATE program at Fern? That's a great question. I would say about 60. No, I'm probably counting 5th grade from last year.
Counting 5th grade.
So it's just the current 4th and 5th grades. Maybe half that number.
Yeah,
Maybe about Okay, about 25 kids currently, but that does not include third grade at all. So once third grade takes their test and we get their results back, that number is gonna increase probably double.
Yeah,
Like
so last year we had
double.
about 60, 50 to 60 in there.
Yeah, we had about 50 or 60. And may I also add that just because a student um, took the screening and was not identified doesn't mean that they won't participate. We actually have the flexibility and have exercised this flexibility in the past of inviting high achieving kids from the third, fourth, and fifth grades to participate. So the number 60 that I've given you doesn't include kids that were strictly identified as gifted or high achieving. They're kids that we observed anecdotally, that word,
Anecdotally, yeah.
anecdotally, um, and who we've had in our classes that we know would be up to the challenge and that would enjoy the environment that we have personally invited or given their teachers invitations to invite their students, those students in their classes.
That's the beauty of what we're doing here at Fern. I appreciate that. Good job.